tuning in to the MMA Roundtable. Today is February 7th, 2013. Crazy card this past Saturday, UFC 156. Lots and lots of stuff to break down from that one. For the first time in a few weeks, we don't have a UFC card this coming weekend, but we do have a bit of news to break down. As always, Guess That Week, our boneheads of the week. So without any further ado, let's get into it. The 18th edition of the Roundtable. Thanks everybody for tuning in. It's been a fun ride for sure so far. The 18th, we're coming onto the 20th Roundtable. It's been a lot of fun. We're partners, MMA Mental. Word on the Street. You can hit up MMAmental.com. Follow Word on the Street at Twitter at The Aunt Jimmy Show. And listen to this show every Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, 4 to 6 Pacific, midnight to 2 a.m. if you're in the UK. We are live on Ustream. We all tweet out the link, so you can just follow us on Twitter, MMA Mental or the MMA Podcast, and get that live link. Tweet in, call in, whatever you want to do. Ray, you've been doing huge things. You've just did a huge interview. You got another huge interview on the horizon. I'll pass it along and let people know what's going on with MMA Mental, man.
As we like to say at the moment, things are mental.
MMA Mental.
Hey. Yeah, we've had another surreal week. It just keeps getting better and better for us. So far this week, we've had 5 interviews, and I've got another 3 booked for this week. So we opened up the week with Bruce Buffer, which was amazing. He come on the show. He did his own little personal intro, which was brilliant, and that was a really, really good interview. So that's worth listening to. That's on the website at the moment, www.mmamental.com. I'll put it onto my show at the end of the week, so it will also go up on iTunes. We've also teamed up with a local promotion in Coventry, which is Starstrike Promotions. And I spoke to a few of their guys, a cornerman, a top trainer in Coventry, who's trained with some big names in the UK, and one of the fighters. That was Craig Burrows and Sydney Shouting out of Pitbull MMA. Continued my work with Extreme Fighting Championship, promoting their up-and-coming event at XFC 22. I spoke to Nate Landwehr and Corey Hill, of course, who many people will remember from the Ultimate Fighter Season 5, which is the same season that had Nate Diaz, Greg Maynard, Matt Wyman, Joe Lozon. So yeah, that was good. He suffered the really bad leg breaks. It was interesting speaking to him about that. And then for the rest of this week, I've got a couple of Bellator guys lined up. I've got David Rickles, Caveman, and Brent Weidman, who of course has just pulled out of his fight with after making it into the last 4, which was a shame. And I've also lined up an interview with Houston Alexander. And then for next week's show, so far lined up, we've got Phil Harris, of course, is fighting next weekend at UFC in London. A couple of XFC guys again, Jimmy Fowler and Phil Gonzalez. And then today I've lined up a couple more interviews for next week. Francisco Rivera, who of course coming off a big win at the weekend. And then the true UFC number 1 welterweight contender, number 2 behind GSP in the new UFC rankings. We've lined up Johnny Hendricks for next week as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's huge stuff you're lining up. You're getting like 5 or 6 interviews a week, it seems like. You guys are really hammering it out, starting to dominate that UK MMA market. Ramses, what is the word on the street, son? You're doing a show every Tuesday with the Tough, doing a post-Tough episode now, right?
That's right. Tuesdays after Tough, it's the Word on the Street podcast with Coach Jamie Huey, Team Sunin's coach, Team Darkside's coach. He is now a co-host every Tuesday after Tough. Check that out. And just follow me on Twitter, The Aunt Jimmy Show. Your life will never be the same.
Yeah, and mine has changed dramatically since we've brought Ramses into the mix. Yeah, we have a bunch of stuff to crack into this week, so we'll get right into it. Our podcast, the MMA Podcast, we're actually switching to Fridays. Chris is still overseas trying to tame llamas, but we're switching Wednesdays to Fridays. Our boy Ramses is going to be guest hosting for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Same time, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Last week we had on Ben Askren, and that was actually P-Money stepping in, doing some work, interviewing him with me. I think we're going to get Darren Cruikshank on tomorrow. Not confirmed yet. It'll either be tomorrow or next week. He still hasn't gotten back to me. But, yeah, that's the MMA Podcast, themapodcast.com, the MMA Podcast on Twitter, all one word. Let's get straight to UFC 156. It was a crazy card. We got to break down the whole thing, though, as much as I want to skip ahead to those two kind of bizarre fights. Not bizarre, but huge upsets. But we'll start with the prelims just real quick. You had Francisco Rivera and Dustin Kimura winning on the preliminary card. Bobby Green defeating Jacob Volkman, third round rear naked choke. And Evan Dunham defeating Gleison Tibau via split decision, kind of moving up there in the lightweight division. A couple of fights, though, I want to talk about on the prelim card. Really quick first, usually we go all around the round table for each topic. But this I'm just gonna pass it off to our buddy Ramses, who is an honorary Thug Jitsu master.
That's right.
And his master Eve Edwards lost via split decision. What happened, man?
All right, look, what happened was Vegas judging. All right, now look, I've rewatched the fight at least 5 times. I gotta give the edge to my Thug Jitsu master, Eve Edwards. No, all the bias aside, yes, he did give me a black belt and teach me how to defend myself. I got revenge at my 10-year high school reunion because of his teachings. That's a separate story. What happened during this fight? Let's face it, Eve Edwards, that second round, it was the only time anybody was threatened in the fight, and it was Eve's threatening this Isaac, whatever his fucking name was. It turns out that kid had some friends in high places, all right? He got a decision victory, all right? He did not beat the Thug Jitsu master. The Thug Jitsu master was not defeated. I don't even remember him taking a really, really clean hit or getting hurt or rocked. It didn't happen. That decision should have gone to Eve Edwards. But in all fairness, the kid did show aggressiveness, which counts for a lot when you're watching the fight live. So yeah, the Isaac kid, he put up a decent fight. I will give him that much credit, but if you rewatch the fight, it's going to be obvious who was the better, who put on the better striking, more precise, the more skilled fighter. It's going to be the Thug Jitsu master, Eve Edwards. He got robbed.
Yeah, really quick before we move on, where does Eve go from here?
That's a good question. I'd have to see what happens in this next round of fights here, man. He definitely needs some more time in the octagon. I mean, that last fight before this one with Jeremy Stevens, his first round, he barely got his toes wet, and that was after a little layoff. So I think he needs somebody that's going to make him go the distance again. That's for sure. I'll have to look into it, but he takes any fight they give him.
Definitely, yeah. We'll move on to other fights. We usually go all the way around the round table there, but Ramses is a true Thug Jitsu honorary black belt, so I want to do a little one-on-one tap into his mind there. The other prelim bout we'll talk about, Tyron Woodley defeating Jay Heron via early knockout, 30 seconds into the first round. Some brutal punches. Woodley, it's kind of crazy if after that Marquardt fight you were to ask me, how long is it going to take Woodley's stock to get back above Marquardt's, because he is young and down the road he will probably fight later on. If you would have said just a few months, I would have said no fucking way. Marquardt knocked him the fuck out. But with Marquardt losing to Tarek Safadine and Woodley beating Jay Heron via brutal knockout, I kind of think Woodley's stock is a little bit higher. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight one of these solid top 20 wrestlers like Mike Pierce or Mike Pyle, who both fought at that December UFC on FX card. Those would both be pretty interesting options. What do you guys think is next for Tyron Woodley after this devastating KO win? First UFC fight.
Let's be honest, that was so impressive. I mean, I thought Woodley would win the fight, and to be fair, most of the fights I got wrong that night. But yeah, I actually had Tyron Woodley to win, but I don't think I expected him to win like that, because Jay Heron has shown himself to be quite durable. So what do we have for Tyron Woodley next? I think Tyron Woodley has proved that he is going to be in the top tier of that division. I know he's got he's had a fight before with Tarek Safadine, and obviously beat Tarek Safadine, and Safadine's coming off the win over Nate Marquardt. I wouldn't mind seeing them rematch in the UFC, see which one of them goes on to big things. Also, I think a very interesting match, a similar style to him, a wrestler with power in his hands, would be Jake Ellenberger, but that's only really, obviously, if Johnny Hendricks beats Jake Ellenberger. But I think Woodley versus Ellenberger would be a really good fight to watch. I
gotta say, the rematch, I want to see the rematch with Woodley and Marquardt, man. That would be the fucking most interesting fight at this point, because I saw that original fight and it was a damn good one. Fucking war. But yeah, I was impressed, but I was not surprised by Mr. Woodley's performance because he is a training partner of the Thug Jitsu master Eve Edwards. So congratulations to Tyron Woodley. And yeah, I want to see the fucking rematch with Marquardt. That's all I got to say. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I can't deny he looked impressive. First of all, I was absolutely gutted for Jay Heron. Where he goes from here, I mean, that loss to Nate Marquardt, it stands out. It does stand out like a sore thumb right now. I've got to go with somebody might have said it, but yeah, I've got to go with Mike Pierce. I think that's a nice fight. It might test his wrestling, things like that. And yeah, I think that fight's nice to me. I quite like Mike Pierce. He's on a bit of a run right now.
Patrick?
I liked what I saw from Tyron Woodley. I did not have a whole lot of stock in him coming into this fight. Saw him. I mean, it was a good fight with Marquardt. I think, people forget it was back and forth. He had Marquardt rocked in that fight. But he did get knocked out with some sweet techniques. But he came back and returned the favor to Jay Heron in his UFC debut. Quick, brutal finish. He's stiffing Heron up real good. What's next for him? I'd like to see him take a little bit of a step up in competition. I mean, Jay Heron, he's no slouch. I'd like to see him take on maybe a Aaron Simpson or potentially even a Mike Pierce.
Yeah, I also like that Mike Pierce fight. Like I mentioned earlier, we'll keep moving to the main card. A flyweight fight, what was assumed and announced to be the title eliminator to face Mighty Mouse next. Two guys who are both coming off losses against the champion Mighty Mouse, Joseph Benavidez and Ian McCall, the consensus 2-3 at that division. Ian McCall had been going through some personal problems before this, reportedly going through issues with his wife. And obviously he has a little child, so definitely our best wishes to him. But as far as the fight went, Joseph Benavidez really looked very impressive. Kind of dominated every aspect of the fight. Ian McCall saying, if the UFC doesn't cut me, which I could understand them doing, I would be gracious to fight again, etc., etc. Luckily for him, the flyweight division is pretty slim still, so he'll probably only be a couple wins away from a title shot again. Where does Uncle Creepy go from here, and who do you guys see him fighting next? Patrick?
It's a tough call. Uncle Creepy came into the flyweight tournament. I believe he was the number one ranked in pretty much just about every rankings you could find for the 125-pound division. I know pretty much everyone gave that title to Joe B., and we know how that ended up going. Demetrius Johnson became the champ. He defended his title. But having said that, Uncle Creepy, he's sitting at a 0-2-1 record in the UFC. None too pleasing. I still think he's definitely a great talent. But it's hard to match him up with someone right about now. If I had to though, I'd like to see my boy Steve Swanson get matched up with Ian McCall. Steve Swanson, he's 10-0 right now. And, like it's been mentioned, McCall, he's had 3 fights, does not have a win in the UFC yet. Steve Swanson's last 3 fights have all been knockouts. The combined time of those 3 fights is less than a minute. I think the longest time it took him to knock this dude out in his last fight was like 16 seconds or something like that. Word on the streets, shouts out to Ramsey, is that he's looking to make his UFC debut here soon, so
Uncle Creepy, man, what's next for him? They're not going to cut his ass. This fucking division is preposterous. It's like the same 5 guys fighting each other just over and over again. What's next? It doesn't matter. This division, man, something needs to be done, man. They're not going to cut Uncle Creepy because then they can't afford to lose anybody at this point. So Uncle Creepy, he'll probably be fighting for the title again here in about 3 weeks. Everybody's going to end up fighting for the title again. by the end of the year, I project, in this division. It's getting ridiculous.
The reason Chris is leaving or has been gone is actually because he's fighting for the flyweight championship.
They got new blood.
Yeah,
new
in
blood.
April. Yep. Cut down to 125. I think he's only like 5'1", so it works out. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was wrapping it up. I mean, good for Chris there. It'll be good to see some new blood. He'll probably be fighting for the title right away. Yeah. Chris, word on the street.
I think it is an interesting division, despite the fact it's only got 5 guys, purely because that first draw with Uncle Creepy, and then the second fight was still pretty close, despite the fact Demetrius went on to win it. I would have liked to have seen McCall win that fight. I mean, it looked very much like a jock versus the guy you can kind of root for. McCall was looking very like he's having fun, and Joe Benavidez had a very stern, stiff face, and it looked like he's doing it just because he could. I didn't really want to see Joey Benavidez go to win that fight, but he did, and it happens. I think he's got to change his game plan up completely. I mean, if you look at how Brad Pickett beat Demetrius Johnson, he used his wrestling. If Joey Benavidez wants to go into a full wrestling-based camp, he has a chance to beat him. But I don't know, that division, you're going to have a lot of rematches, as Rams has said, and I think we just got to accept that for now until it grows.
I thought it was a really, really close fight, and I know we talk about Ian McCall's record, but you've got to remember the 3 fights he's had was 2 against Demetrius Johnson, and one of them, the first one, he was robbed because of they should have had a 4th round, but someone couldn't add up properly. And then he's obviously lost to Benavidez. And even though McCall was number 1 ranked in that division going into this, it was a false ranking because we hadn't seen Benavidez and Johnson in the division yet. And I think everyone going into that tournament expected Benavidez and Johnson to be the top 2 guys in that tournament. I think it was obviously expected to be Benavidez, then Johnson. It didn't work out like that. But I like the flyweight division. I think you've got to start somewhere. I remember when I first started watching, or the early days of the UFC, and the light heavyweight division was Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, and Tito Ortiz. That's all it was. That was the division, and you had a rematch. But look at that division now. And, UFC heavyweight division at one point was only Tim Sylvia and Andrei Arlovski. Everything has got to start somewhere. They all started off as shallow divisions, and now all of those divisions, including the featherweight and bantamweight, they've got some good depth in. And, that will happen with the flyweight division as well. I think people are a little bit too impatient. Just got to give it a little bit of time. But what's next for obviously Benavidez? It looks like I think he will I imagine he will get the rematch with DJ for now. If they didn't give it him straight away, I wouldn't mind seeing him in a number 1 contender match against Moraga. I think Moraga's looked very impressive. And as for Creepy, I think he gets another fight, and I think he'll win his next fight because he'll get a fight away from these top 2. The only other really, really difficult fight for him would be Dodson, but that fight would make sense because obviously Dodson is in and around that top tier as well. So McCall Dodson would be a good fight.
Yeah, and touching on that Benavidez versus Mighty Mouse rematch, what do you guys see going down in that? How much of a chance does Joseph Benavidez have to beat Mighty Mouse? Realistically, I think he has maybe a 1 in 3 chance of beating Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse, in my eyes at least, the way he really dominated that first fight, I kind of see more of the same going down. And thinking about it, it's kind of crazy how dominant every champion looks now. Kane doesn't have any title defenses yet after knocking out Junior Dos Santos, or not knocking him out, but basically knocking him around for 25 minutes. Obviously, you have Jones, Silva, St. Pierre, Benson Henderson, Aldo, Cruz just dominating their divisions. It's really interesting, this era of division dominance from all the champions. I think the same thing goes down in a rematch. How much of a chance do you guys think Joby's got to upset the title holder?
I think Patrick? Joe's got like a 20% chance to do it. Maybe a little bit better than that. Maybe I think, Jake, you were hitting around the right area with that 30%. I do like it. Looked like he threw a little bit more combos against McCall, so it looks like he is changing and adapting his style. And of course, if you lost a title fight and you want to go challenge the same person you lost to for the championship, you better be improving your game or at least changing your game in some form. It looks like Benavidez is doing that. whether or not that'd be enough to get him over the top against Johnson, I just don't know. But I'll give him the same, about 30%.
Joseph Benavidez, he seems like a nice guy, but Mighty Mouse slapped him down once. He's going to do it again. I have no reason to think otherwise. If Joey does somehow catch Mighty Mouse and wins, it really doesn't matter. They're just going to fight again 2 weeks later. Word on the street.
I think he does have a chance. He's just got to completely go in there with a different game plan. As I said before, Brad Pickett was able to out-wrestle him. McCall was able to... Not only did McCall outstrike him on the feet in some of that first fight, he rocked him and stuff, but he was able to take him down. That's how he got to the back mount position in the third round. I think that if he came in with a wrestling-based game plan, he trains at Team Alpha Male, he might be able to just wrestle. I'm just going to say he's going to be able to wrestle rape him for 25 minutes if he really wanted to. But I don't think he will. I think he'll be an idiot again and stand, so I've got to give it to Mighty Mouse. Sucks, but that's what I think.
28 minutes is a new record-long time for Jay to mention rape. Congrats.
They're raping everybody.
It's been a couple of shows without me using the word.
I think for me it's a 50-50 fight. And I know what we're saying, he's beaten before, he'll beat him again, but I've personally thought the same with JDS and Kane, and that didn't quite work out like that. So it's not always a matter of he's beat me once or beat him again. The last fight they had was extremely close, and they fight at such a high tempo. And again, Johnson's got the speed. Benavidez obviously quick. Benavidez has got the power. And like Jay said about the game plan, if he comes in with a little bit more wrestling and tries to do the wrestling, we know Johnson can lose to wrestling. I honestly feel it's a 50-50 fight. It was such a close fight. Even the Johnson-Dodson fight was close. Out of all those fights so far between the top guys, every fight they've had so far has just been razor thin.
Yeah, it has. It'll be interesting to see if they do get matched up. It probably won't be too long of a wait. Johnson and Benavidez both are coming off fights, but neither of them got too beat up in those fights. We'll move on to a welterweight bout. Damian Maia defeating John Fitch, and John Fitch, as everyone was saying on Twitter, John Fitch got John Fitched. Unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. Damian Maia just is looking incredible at welterweight, tossed around John Fitch, who's one of the best wrestlers, not just in the welterweight division, but he's one of the best wrestlers in mixed martial arts. And he just looked absolutely incredible. Maia did, just tossing around Fitch. He did deserve the unanimous decision, and it set up what was an amazing night for the Brazilians on this card. But as far as Fitch is concerned, where do you guys think John Fitch goes from here? I'll pass it off to you, Ramses.
John Fitch, he needs to go back to training and learning the basics again, because he obviously forgot how to fight in an MMA match. All right, he had no game plan whatsoever for Damian Maia. It was ridiculous. His only game plan seemed to be to avoid the submission. And that's great, but that's not a winning strategy. How do you win from there? He kept himself from getting strangled. That was good for him, I guess. But Damian Maia, I fucking hate Damian Maia, but I had to look at it objectively, and this was the only fight that I actually put money on, and I put a lot of it on the person I hate, Damian Maia, because I saw this coming a mile away. John Fitch, man, even I could kick his ass at this point. He needs to learn how to fight again, really. Seriously, I mean that.
I think Ramses only hates Damian Maia because he was able to tap out Chael Sonnen. But
it never happened.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. Well, I won't bring it up again. I love the welterweight division, and I think Maia's a really good addition. I think Ramses is right. He didn't really look like he had a game plan. I've never seen John Fitch look that stupid at somebody thinking, oh, he's going to take me down. Oh, no, now I'm on my back. Oh, now he's got my back. It's just a range of things that he just didn't seem to be prepared for at all. It's like he purely went out there to win the fight. He never questioned, this guy might have my back. This guy might try for a takedown. It looked like he's looking at, middleweight Damian Maia, the one who seemed to like to strike, and he hasn't really watched much footage of Maia recently. I don't know. What's next for Fitch? Well, he's got to get himself together. I think somebody who will still be a threat to him, but won't be able to. I think Martin Kampmann. I think that's a threat, and I think that it will test Martin Kampmann's takedown defense. I like that fight. It's my thoughts.
It was the Maia Fitch fight. I was quite surprised. I thought Fitch would do what Fitch normally does, but in the end, Maia did what Fitch normally does, and he, as Jake said, he fitched him. Obviously we spoke to Bruce Buffer earlier in the week, and he actually said that he saw John after the fight, and he said that John Fitch was unwell. So whether that, nothing else has been mentioned, so whether that was true, whether there's anything to come of that. But Maia just looked amazing. He was all over that fight, and I don't take too much away from Fitch in that. I just think Maia had one of those nights. He looked phenomenal, you talk about Fitch not being on his back and all that. It's very rare we see Fitch in those positions. So I can see why he wasn't maybe prepared for that. But I mean, if Fitch still fought his game, he still defended the submissions. He just couldn't defend the takedowns, which was unusual. But I think Maia is just that good. He is such a high-level grappler. It was fantastic to watch. What's next for Fitch? I don't know what's next for Fitch, but Fitch is always one of those guys that's in and around the top, and he always will be. I think Kampmann sounds like a good fight. We talked about Tyrone Woodley earlier on. There's another up-and-comer. That would be a good fight as well, Fitch versus Woodley. So there is that, like Jay said, he likes the welterweight division. There's so many great guys up near that top 15 to 20 of the welterweight division. There's so many exciting fights. And I was a witness to something a few years ago, actually, which was probably not going to be very pleasant for someone, but I actually witnessed Damian Maia submitting Chael Sonnen, and I was in the crowd, and I can say it did happen. I saw it live.
This guy's funny, man. You're funny, Ray.
Ray's got jokes.
The UK humor, it's really cheeky.
You guys. You know what? I think Maia looked amazing against John Fitch. I mean, that is just... I don't want to say I called that shit a mile away. I mean, you guys know. We were on here last week preaching from the mountaintop that Maia was going to do it, and Maia did it. John Fitch, he was constantly being talked about as a perennial number 2 in the welterweight division. Now it's looking like he's a top 5 in the division. But really, I mean, the wrestling will only take you so far. I mean, at this point in time, I'm thinking to myself, Ben Askren could probably beat John Fitch. He'd probably just come in and fucking wrap him up. He'd take him down all day and he'd probably get a fucking TKO on Fitch. As for what's next for Damian Maia, how close is he to a title shot? Just with the way the UFC is working these days, he's not going to fucking get a title shot. It doesn't matter that he's at 170 pounds now. He's going to need to win like fucking 2 or 3 more fights. And, if he can not get beat by the time they stop making all these fucking bullshit matches like Diaz and GSP, if he can remain unbeaten, for like another year, he might get a title shot.
Man, you're really kind of discounting Maia. In my opinion, we'll go around the roundtable one more time to talk about how close Maia is to that championship fight. Word on the street, I wouldn't be shocked if he fought for the welterweight title in 2013. If not, I think it happens in 2014. He just looks excellent at welterweight. There's a slew of guys that would make for really interesting matchups. Both Rory and Carlos Condit, who are wrapped up in a fight with each other next month. That would be a good matchup. Maybe Maia waits on the sideline. Maia fights the winner of Condit and McDonald, and the winner of that gets a title shot against GSP versus the winner of Hendricks versus Ellenberger, which is looking way, way, way down the line with injuries, etc. Probably won't all turn out like that. But I think he's in the position to plan it out like that. No one has ever fucked with John Fitch like that. You had Hendricks who knocked him out cold. I don't even think GSP was that dominant wrestling against Fitch. Maia looks like a fucking force at welterweight. He can do a lot of damage, But at the same time, this needs to happen sooner rather than later, because you're looking at a division of a bunch of young guys. You know, Nick Diaz is still in his 20s, believe it or not, even though he's already had such a storied career. He's 29, Condit 28, Hendricks is 29, Ellenberger's 27, GSP is only 31, Damian Maia is 35. He needs to get moving quick toward that title shot. But like I said, word on the street, I wouldn't be that shocked if we saw him fighting for the title sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna get to the title. He'll get to the he'll get right there. He'll get right on the outskirts. But seriously, man, Damian Maia, he made a lot of money for me. He was the only bet I had. I put down a lot of money on him. But fuck Damian Maia. Once he runs into like a Johnny Hendricks, it's gonna be all over for this kid. All right, somebody's just gonna punch him in the face, and then that's how you defeat a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master. All right. You punch him in the fucking face and knock him out. And that's going to happen pretty damn soon for Damian Maia. That's the word on the street.
I've got to kind of disagree with that. I know that Chuck Liddell, the first person he really struggled with was Murilo Bustamante. And, you know, Maia stood in there with a couple of guys. He stood in there with Munoz and he got punched in the face a few times then. He stood in the cage with Weidman, and that was a sloppy fight, but he still hung in there. Yeah, I think Hendricks might be able to put him away, but he's a different man now. He's grabbing people and he's pulling them down. I mean, I would have expected him to, if the fight was going really crazy, I would have expected him to pull guard, but he didn't even have to do that. Every time he wanted a takedown, he's able to get it. Maia's looking fantastic right now. I don't think he'll get a title fight because that's the GSP getting injured. The fact GSP's currently fighting somebody who's coming off a loss. You've got other guys. You've got the Hendricks. I think Hendricks is probably next, provided he beats Ellenberger. Maia's going to have to get a couple more wins. I don't know who he'll fight next. Maybe... I seriously wouldn't be able to say at this point. Yeah, maybe somebody like Woodley. Maybe even... Tarek Safadine. I don't know. That division seems like you could put anybody against GSP and that fight would make sense right now. The division is so stacked, and the fact GSP's been away for so long. But Maia's a force, and it's a very interesting division, especially when you've got that many wrestlers. I think I'm loving the division. I always have, and I always will.
Just want to pick up on a throwaway comment there from Jay about Liddell struggling against Bustamante, that being the first time. But you're forgetting the fact that Liddell was choked unconscious in his second UFC fight, which was obviously before that fight.
That is a good point. That was Horn, isn't it?
Yeah, I just wanted to put that up. Damian Maia. I mean, for me, Damian Maia is right in the mix of things now for the bout, and I liked what listening to what everyone said. The one that stood out to me more so far was what Jake said, taking on the winner of McDonald and Condit. For me, Hendricks should be fighting for the title. The fact he's not is ridiculous, but I think we all probably agree on that anyway. I mean, obviously Diaz shouldn't be number one contender, but that's by the by. I think if Hendricks beats Ellenberger, he gets the next shot. I'm assuming McDonald will beat Condit. That's just what I'm thinking. So if McDonald beats Condit, I think McDonald should then face Maia. I don't know who would win that fight because McDonald's a great grappler. I don't know if McDonald would want to fight GSP. But yeah, that's the way I look at it. I think Maia is right in the picture now. I think if you beat Fitch, then you're in the title talk. And I could see him facing the winner of McDonald Condit. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, that's definitely a logical point. In spite of my previous statement, I'm high on Damian Maia. I definitely think, he's looked like a beast. You look at, he's 3-0 since he dropped down to welterweight. Who's he beat? Dong Hyun Kim, fucking Rick Story, and just now beating John Fitch. So he's beaten high-level grapplers. Out of all those guys, Story's really the only one with any striking to really note. So, I do think when he comes up against a Hendricks or an Ellenberger, he's got some problems there. A guy like Martin Kampmann, who's got sharp striking and good takedown defense, he can be some problems. He's got good grappling as well. I do think, Maia, he's looking fucking beastly. He's looking awesome. Hands down, one of the top grapplers in the fucking UFC, but how's he going to do when he can't get the takedown on someone? Like we talked about last week, Fitch was getting taken down by BJ Penn. You got guys like Johnny Hendricks and Josh Koscheck. Let's see Josh Koscheck and Damian Maya. I mean, he arguably beat Johnny Hendricks, so I think that's a good fight right there. But yeah, I mean, he could be close. He's definitely got another fight in the wings, though, before he gets there.
Definitely. All of you make really salient points, and I've always, at least for the last 2 or 3 years, been a big stalwart about the fact that the lightweight division was stronger than the welterweight division. I might be changing my mind now. That welterweight division looking very, very solid. Would love to see Ben Askren, who we had last week on our podcast, to come over to the UFC and flex his wrestling grit against the rest of the UFC. Definitely going to get into those last 3 fights on UFC 156. The heavyweight and light heavyweight divisions flipped on their head. Of course, you had the featherweight title with Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar. But first, we got Guess That Tweet to get to. Yours truly, the 8-time undisputed defending Guess That Tweet champion, going to defend his belt, going to get belt number 9 this week. Patrick is hosting. Patrick, are you ready?
Yeah, son. Yeah.
It's all you, buddy.
I got the questions chambered up. We're ready to go. Gentlemen, shall we start Guess That Tweet?
Let's do it.
Bring it, gentlemen.
Hell to the yeah.
You with us, Patrick? Did he drop out?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm good. Let's do this thing. All right, first tweet. This one, we're going back in time a little bit. 3 more weeks being beaten up by these monsters. Sitting at 95 keys. Another easy walk onto the scale. Was it Paul Sass, Jimmy Manuwa, Tom Watson, or James Tahuna?
Damn. Well, when you said keys, obviously it's someone using the kilogram scale, but you threw out 2 Brits and 2 Aussies, so that doesn't really mess it up at all. Jimmy Manuwa, fuck it, I have no idea, man.
Could you give me the people again? Sorry, I didn't catch them.
No, quite all right, Jay. All right, we've got Paul Sass, Jimmy Manuwa, Tom Watson, and James Tahuna.
I'm going to go with Tom Watson. Go on, stab in the dark.
I'll go with. I'll also go with Jimmy Manuwa.
Right, I did a little bit of math. So you're sitting at 95 keys, which is
I did the same.
209 pounds, and I don't think that any light heavyweight is going to be 4 pounds above weight 3 weeks out. I think that's more of a middleweight, so I'm going to go for Tom Watson.
Okay. Well, it was not Paul Sass. It was not James Tahuna. It was not Tom Watson. It was Jimmy Manuwa.
Suck it,
Nice.
Ray. Suck it real good.
Okay, so
Team MMA podcast taking a big step out against Team MMA Mental. 1 point for Ramses and myself.
Yeah.
I'm so happy with my math then as well.
Cool.
all right. Well, so here we go. Here's tweet number 2, gentlemen. This one was addressed to James McSweeney. So it starts at McSweeney MMA. No worries, mate. Also got some focus mitts in the mail for you today, mate. See you tomorrow. And then there's a Twitter pic of the fighter with some focus mitts on. And is it A, Shea Mills, B, Andy Ogle, C, Matt Riddle, or D, Danny Castillo?
I'm going to guess Shea Mills.
Oh, Matt Riddle.
Oh, why am I so bad at listening, man? I heard... Oh, go on. Just read them out again. Sorry, I'm rubbish.
That's okay. Hey, I know how it goes. So I'll give the tweet and the clue, or the fighters again. It's at McSweeney MMA. No worries, mate. Also got some focus mitts in the mail for you today, mate. See you tomorrow. Is it Che Mills, Andy Ogle, Matt Riddle, or Danny Castillo?
I'd better go with Che Mills. Go on. That's a stab in the dark. Oh, man.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a UK fighter because Ray says the word mate every 4 words when we talk. So, yeah, between Mills and Ogle... between Mills and Ogle, I think we had 2 people pick Mills already, so for the sake of parity, I'll go with Andy Ogle.
All right, well, it was not Danny Castillo. It was not Andy Ogle. It was not Che Mills. It was C. Matt Riddle.
Yes.
Ramsey.
Damn.
Getting the sneaky point.
I really thought it was going to be a Brit with the word mate in there so often.
Sweeney's teaming up with the wrong people.
Yes, indeed. So, and of course, I must say, in case you guys have not noticed, this is a themed Guess That Tweet, as we like to do around here. UFC, yep, Fuel 7. There we go. All right, let's move right along to tweet number 3. Just received at Training Mask 2.0 and pumped to use it. Thanks at KO Reps. Was this A. Terry Edom, B. Stanislav Nedkov, C. Ryan Gimo, or D. Josh Grisby?
Wow, well, Jesus Christ, I'm not going to lie, I completely spaced the fuck out when you were reading the tweet, but just because the sake we had him... No, but just because the sake we had him on our show just a few weeks back, I'll go with Ryan Gimo.
Did you say Josh Grisby? Again, I have no idea this one. This is rubbish. I heard you say Josh Grisby, so I'll go with Josh Grisby. I don't follow any of these guys.
Fair enough. Yeah, Josh Grisby was in there. We had Edom, Stanislav Nedkov, and Ryan Gimo as well.
Okay, yeah, we'll go with Josh Grisby.
I'll go with Nedkov.
Out of all those names, my first thought was Ryan Gimo.
Okay, well, it was not Terry Edom. It was not Stanislav Nedkov. It was not Ryan Gimo. It was, in fact, D. Josh Grisby.
Douche.
Jay, getting on the boards.
This. You need to pick people I follow next time. You know.
Yeah, well, I had to go with the theme, Jay. I had to go with the theme, but it paid off. And you're on the board with 1. Jake has 1. Ramsey's in the lead with 2. Let's move on to the 4th tweet. Okay.
Ray, you're supposed to be doing better.
But he didn't mention the score. You don't need to bring it up.
No friendly fire. No friendly fire. Okay.
Ooh. Team MMA mental cracking on each other.
There's some dissension among the ranks.
While Team MMA podcast remains in complete solidarity, like Team Darkside, Team Son, and Team MMA mental breaking apart like Team Jones.
Yeah.
Hey,
the British guys. Oh.
This is not over. Damn it! This is not over. We're moving along. Tweet number 4.
Jones, coach the smashes. Sorry.
Sweet Jesus, Jake. All right. So we've got watching at Jim Jeffries, fully functional on Netflix. Best comedian out there. This fighter obviously has poor taste in comedians. Is it A. Tom Watson, B. Vaughn Lee, C. Michael McDonald, or D. Phil Billy Harris?
I'm going to guess Vaughn Lee.
Who was the first choice again?
It was Tom Watson.
Yeah, I'll go with Tom Watson.
So there's Vaughn Lee, Tom Watson. Keep going.
Michael McDonald and Phil Billy Harris.
I'll go Vaughan Lee as well. Go on then.
I'll I guess go with Watson.
Okay, well, it was not Michael McDonald. It was not Phil Harris. It was not Vaughn Lee. God damn it! It was Tom Watson.
Yeah.
Yeah, son. What's good? What's good,
Exactly.
son?
Ramsey's with 3. Jake with 2.
Guaranteeing a win for the MMA podcast.
Essentially, the MMA mental is mathematically eliminated. This is for posterity. This is for individual bragging rights.
You can't be picking UK guys. This is unfair.
I tried to make these tricky, goddammit, and apparently it just wasn't tricky enough for the MMA podcast team.
Do you guys even have Twitter in the UK? What's going on?
Oh, damn. Shots fired.
We might as well not, to be honest.
Oh, good shit. Okay, so we'll do this last one, being as MMA Mental is out of it. This will be Ramses and Jake. Heads up. We'll do this how we normally do our final tweets. Everybody picks just one. Can't pick the same. And I believe with the order of the snake draft we're doing, I believe, Jake, that puts you up first.
Yes,
first
sir.
guess. All right. Let's do this.
Don't forget,
Final
Ramses has got a 1-point lead.
Yeah, this is just for me to tie it up, and if I do,
Yeah,
then it goes into overtime.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so for the Hail Mary to send it into overtime, Jake, here's the final tweet. 175 million dollars? Triple question mark? Why did I stop playing baseball again? Of course, this is in reference to the ridiculous fucking pitcher contract that just got signed recently. So, who is regretting not playing baseball anymore? Is it A, Ulysses Gomez? Is it B, Danny Castillo? Is it C, Matt Riddle? Or is it D, James Tahuna?
Man, I guess it's whoever played baseball. Riddle, Tahuna. God, I'm so baked. Riddle, Tahuna, and who else?
Ulysses Gomez and Danny Castillo.
Danny Castillo, Ulysses Gomez. Is it racist if I pick Matt Riddle because he's white? No, actually, no, there are a lot. Ulysses Gomez is Mexico. Yeah, I'll go with Ulysses. Yeah, Gomez. Final answer. Lock it in. I almost went on a racist tirade. I think I actually did, but go ahead.
Yeah. Jake, just do yourself a favor. Calm down. Ramses, who are you taking in this tweet?
First off, right now I'm suspecting this whole thing is a fucking work, since I don't know anything about baseball, and I know Jake is some sort of a crazy sports Rain Man.
Sports.
It's a word.
He's like the Rain Man of sports or something. But I'm gonna go ahead and pick out of nowhere, just because it sounds like a baseball player, Danny Castillo.
Okay. Well, I can confirm to you guys, you did pick a winner. One of you, and it is not Matt Riddle. It is not James Tahuna. It was not Ulysses Gomez. It was Danny Castillo. Ramses coming on
the belt.
A nearly perfect
This is a work for
performance.
Ramses to win.
4 out of 5. This week's champ.
I'd like a drugs test. Ramses seemed like he came from nowhere to take the title off Jake.
Yeah,
I got a
test his
doctor's
piss.
note.
Test his piss.
I'm about as clean as the people's champion and fucking Vitor Armstrong put together, folks. This was a straight up legit win. It's good to be back on the top of the mountain here. I just want to thank everybody that supported me, and I want to say to all my opponents, you were not worthy, but I gave you the opportunity, so respect for showing up at least. Thank you.
Ramses. Sorry, Ramses is on so much TRT. Like, it is enough TRT to make a pony run up Mount Everest. Sorry, go ahead, guys.
I was about to say, did he hand the TRT note in or what?
Damn, but yeah, Team MMA podcast goes up 12-5. Crazy shit. Ramsey St. Patrick at 3 wins apiece. Dave, Ray, and Chris at 1. Jay still looking for his first title. Mr. Jake Walters at 8 championships. Looking for somebody to get to my level. Patrick and Ramsey's looking good. Everyone else, especially Ray, looking like shite. But next week, Valentine's Day. Is everyone going to be on the round table next week for Valentine's Day?
I mean, you not going out on our date next week then, Jake? Have you cancelled on me again?
Yeah, I got a dentist appointment. Yeah, I have a dentist appointment at midnight. No, but assuming everyone will be on, we're still planning on doing a Valentine's Day show, and I will be hosting. I'll try and find some love Valentine's Day related tweets. Moving on, you know who didn't have a lot of love for Alistair Overeem at UFC 156? What an awesome segue, by the way. That was Antonio Silva showing massive amounts of disdain for Alistair Overeem, who was showing a lot of disdain for Silva, putting his hands down. I've never seen cockiness backfire on someone on such a big stage. Alistair Overeem, arguably he would have gotten a title shot if he won at UFC 156. It was between him and the winner of Big Nog and Verdum, putting his hands down right in front of Bigfoot, who has massive power. Not a very smart move. Silva capitalized just 30 seconds into the final frame. It was a brutal knockout too. It reminded me of that Pat Curran Joe Warren fight where Warren was being kept standing up because he was leaning back against the cage, and Curran's just landing uppercut, cross, right, jab, uppercut. Very similar, and Silva got all the blows in he wanted, made Overeem probably the most devastating loss of his career. Obviously, because he does have a high stock in the heavyweight division, he probably will stay in the top 10. But realistically, where does Alistair Overeem go from here? And kind of, in your response, not only include who you think he fights next and what he does next, but will he ever get his UFC title shot? He's fought for the title in so many other organizations, Dream, Pride, Strikeforce, K1. Will he ever get his UFC title shot? The way I see it, will he ever get his UFC title shot? I think if he goes in there acting seriously, he could beat almost anyone in the MMA mental rankings. Ray aggregates. I think I was the only one putting Overeem as my number one heavyweight above Junior Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez, and I do feel pretty silly for it now. But there are a bunch of guys out there. Frank Mir is going to be fighting Daniel Cormier in a couple months. Maybe Overeem wants to recover. He's definitely not going to be fighting the next 6 months, as brutal as that knockout was. Maybe fight the loser of Mir versus Cormier. The loser of that and Overeem will both be looking to vault back up. And I do think maybe not this year, but maybe next year in 2014. Still relatively young at 32. You have guys like Verdum, who's 35, and Big Nog, who's 36, still doing it big in the UFC. Overeem also has proved he really can come back from a brutal knockout and do some work. I know I've been ranting, so I'll pass it along the round table. What next for the Reem? Ramses?
Jesus, watching the Reem get knocked out like that, it was unfathomable. I could not believe it. And then immediately after that, all I felt was embarrassment, man. I felt embarrassed watching that happen. I knew it was all over once fucking Bigfoot Silva started throwing head kicks in the middle of his combination. That's when I knew it was over for the Reem, man, and I could not believe what I saw. It was impossible, but it happened, and I'm not even calling it work. That was a straight up just what the hell was Overeem doing? No respect at all. What's next for him? I gotta say, it should be a big money fight for him next. He doesn't need a tune-up. I mean, they're not going to give him a tune-up fight. It's Overeem. So I say he fights JDS next. Him versus Dos Santos. They're both coming off of a loss. That makes sense to me. Will he ever get a title shot? Yeah. Like, this is just like the fucking other division. It's just like made up of 5 or 6 guys. They're all going to fight each other. Why not? He'll be fighting for the title eventually. Hell yeah.
Sorry, I was speaking to mute there. Where the hell does he go from here? I mean, wait, is that even a question? That was the most pathetic fight I've seen in a long time. He had Silva standing in front of him. I think it was either round 1 or round 2. Silva was standing in front of him with his guard there, standing flat-footed, not even moving. Silva had Overeem had his hands down, kind of moving his head a bit. If you've got any opportunity in the world to beat someone up, that is your chance right there. He didn't take the opportunity. He deserved everything he got coming into that third round. I mean, I think even in the post-fight, Bigfoot said something like when he was on the ground, he said to Overeem, "Come on, is that the best you've got?" or something. And when he saw the reaction that Overeem gave him, Silva said he knew the fight was over there. He could see he was tired. The big question is, was it the drugs? Was it the fact he wasn't on drugs? I think that might have played a big part of the fight. Where does he go from here? Yeah, they won't give him an easy fight, especially after certain performances in his career, like the Verdum fight and things. They must have kind of prepared that sometimes he's not always going to bring it 100%. I think, yeah, JDS, give him somebody who's just going to come in there and come to fight him, not hang back for a round or 2 rounds or stand there in front of him. That's a K1 kickboxer who's won tournaments, and he didn't even strike with a jiu-jitsu guy. Why? It was a pathetic match. Will he get his title shot? I bloody well hope not. Pathetic fight.
I thought it was a really good fight to watch. I think more credit needs to be given to Antonio Silva because he obviously withstood the early pressure. Because Overeem, I mean, if that had gone the distance, Overeem was winning that fight. I think he'd have took the decision. But obviously, Silva came on strong, and I mean, the finish was spectacular. And you're right, it did remind me of the Curran Warren one as well. The only difference was it was about £100 in weight. I think every one of those punches just looked like a man crushing a skull. I mean, the punches were just epic. Just watch a guy like him throwing those combos it was amazing. And the head kick as well, that was mental as well. You don't expect to see him you don't expect to see him throw those head kicks. It was a fantastic performance. I think Herb Dean's got to be one of the bravest men in the world. I mean, he literally picked up Silva and dragged him away. That's not an easy thing to do. And the guy was so fired up. I don't think he would have threw any more shots, but he was angry because of all the disrespect Overeem was showing him. With regards where does Overeem go from here, I don't necessarily want to see him fight JDS next because I'd like to see JDS fight someone else, and I'm sure we'll come to that in a bit. But I think there's so many guys towards the top of that division that he could fight. I mean, he could fight the winner of Frank Mir and Daniel Cormier. I mean, Cormier Overeem would be a fight that would be interesting because obviously Cormier replaced Overeem in the heavyweight Grand Prix and then went on to win it. So that'd be a good fight. There's some amazing fights in that division. I mean, Mark Hunt's known for his kickboxing. Imagine Mark Hunt versus Alan Overeem as well. That'd be another epic fight. 2 powerful strikers. Oh, it's just so exciting. I don't know what happens with him now. Title shot. If he puts a win streak together, of course he'll get a title shot. It's whether he can put a win streak together because that division's so hard.
You know, I think, first of all, let me just say, Alistair Overeem, he shit the bed like a fucking octogenarian on a prune juice IV.
Damn.
I mean, this guy, he lost his shit. He went in there absolutely zero respect for Bigfoot Silva. I mean, no matter how much better you think you are than someone technically, when you're fighting someone who's probably juiced to the gills and they're fucking suffering from gigantism anyways, well, probably not suffering, but the dude's got that fucking Easter Island head, just fucking baseball mitt size piss. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? How are you going to just sit there with your fucking hands down? And you know what? Yeah, Overeem, you are technically better than Bigfoot Silva. That's why you're handling him. He was like fucking light work for you the first 2 rounds, but then you were just cocky and you got caught like a fucking bitch, like a cocky bitch. And you know, that's what happens. You get put to sleep. And like Jay said, he fucking deserved that whole, absolutely. He could have fucking taken Antonio Silva out, but he just wanted to fucking play with him. And he got made to look a fool instead of making Bigfoot look like a fool. I think Overeem versus JDS, I think that's absolutely the fight to see. It would have been better if it were for a title, but hey, you know what? Now they're both coming off of losses, both fairly devastating losses in different respects. So it just makes sense. They're both still probably the top 2 and 3 in the UFC heavyweight division currently. And then for Bigfoot Silva, if he doesn't get the immediate title shot, which I really don't think he should, if he doesn't get that, I'd like to see him take on the Mark Hunt versus Stefan Struve winner. I think them versus Bigfoot Silva, that's just a logical number one contenders fight. As I don't think either Mark Hunt or Stefan Struve would get a title fight after winning whoever the winner of that match is. So, yeah, that's how I see that going down.
Wow, I never really thought about Overeem versus Dos Santos, but I like that one a lot. And as far as giving Silva the shot, why not? No one really makes sense. Cormier is going to fight Frank Mir the end of April. We don't know how long he's going to be on the shelf after that. We don't know who's going to win that fight. As I proclaim there was absolutely no way Overeem or Rashad lose, and we saw what happened. On Saturday, Patrick, you touched on it, and I just touched on it. We'll let Ramses, Ray, and Jay touch on it as well. Is Bigfoot Silva the real deal, and who is next for him? A shot at the title?
Oh, Jesus, Bigfoot Silva. No, he is not the real deal. I'm still not convinced. All right? Yeah, he was throwing those combinations and head kicks, but they look goofy, all right? The only reason he's won his last two fights is because his last two opponents have underestimated him. Travis Brown and the Reem. They both came in there more concerned about showboating than they did about putting this man away. They thought he was a joke. He's not a joke, but he's not the real deal. He's somewhere in the middle. He might get a title shot, but no way he fucking beats Kane or Junior if it comes down to that again. I mean, nah, he's not the real deal. He's just a very large man with goofy combinations, and he got lucky.
Yep. As it says, I'd hate to see Kane fight Bigfoot again. I think that would just be a waste of however long the training camps would be. I don't see it going any different way. Is he the real deal? Ramses really did sum it up. But everything just doesn't look right. It's the heavyweight division. Anybody can throw a punch, and because of the size they are, they're 265-pound men. They've got power. Everybody's got power. Overeem's been knocked out before. He'll probably get knocked out again. Antonio Silva's been knocked out before. He'll probably get knocked out again. Anything can happen, and especially in that division where one punch can end a fight. That's what happened. A punch ended the fight. Is he the real deal? No way. Would I like to see him fight again? Sure. He's on a 2-fight winning streak, and again, both guys, he's able to seize an opportunity and get lucky. I don't think he's a threat at all for Kane. I don't think he's a threat for JDS either. But whatever the UFC wants to do, I think he's calling out the wrong guys. I think he should look for a couple more wins first. Mark Hunt would be a very easy win if he can get the takedown, because Hunt's bad off his back. There's fights for him, but a title shot, nowhere near.
I think he's a bit too harsh on Antonio Silva. Silva's... he's done well with the guys he's been put up against. I mean, let's not forget, before he was in the UFC, he was in Strikeforce, and he was a top contender in Strikeforce. He smashed Fedor Emelianenko. I know people talk about the size, but, that's not Antonio Silva's fault. Fedor had beat big heavyweights before. I mean, Silva brutalised Fedor, and it was kind of mad to see. I personally think Silva is the real deal. He looked great against Overeem. He deserved the win. I mean, he took some shots from Overeem, he rode it out. And when Overeem was starting to get tired, Silva knocked him out. The fight I'd like to see next for Silva, because I think if Silva hadn't lost to Kane in his debut in such emphatic fashion, I think there'd be more people who would say, let's get him on for the title shot, because he's just beat the number one contender, who's expected to be the number one contender, which was Overeem. Now, for me, there's two guys who are in the front running for the title shot at the moment. And I'm discounting Daniel Cormier for the minute because he's fighting Frank Mir. But it's Antonio Silva and Junior Dos Santos, because obviously JDS is coming off the loss. He's saying he had problems. He beat Cain Velasquez so convincingly the first time. I'd say put Silva against JDS, and the winner of that should take on Kane. That's what I think should happen.
Any more thoughts before we move on to the co-main, Patrick?
Yeah, I give Silva a decent chance against Kane just because their first fight, Kane got the takedown super early. Silva whiffed a leg kick at Kane, and Kane just grabbed that shit, and he put he put Silva on his ass. So if Silva comes in, doesn't throw the leg kicks at a super good wrestler with a low center of gravity like that, which is just fucking retarded in the first place, who knows? He's got those fucking big hands. He cuts 265, and of course he'll have the height and reach on Kane. So he's got a chance. I mean, he's definitely got the chance to put Kane out. So let's see what happens. He could definitely get that shot right away. I mean, he's got 2 wins in a row. That's, you never know how many it's faced, but we've seen fighters lost to get title fights. I think we've got 2 currently scheduled. So there you have it.
Yeah, and that Velasquez dos Santos rematch is an excellent example of why, you should be given a rematch even if you lost to the other fighter pretty dominantly, just as long as you're an elite fighter. Kane losing to dos Santos in like 46 seconds in the first fight and then coming back and whooping him. Maybe we see the same thing with Silva versus Velasquez if it happens. I doubt it, but who knows, because crazy shit happens in MMA. We saw the heavyweight division get, flipped upside down, dumped on its head with Overeem losing. And Rashad Evans, a guy who, at least in my mind, has been a perennial number 2 behind John Jones in the light heavyweight division, going up against Little Nog in what all of us agreed last night was kind of a joke fight because Rashad Evans was such the superior fighter. I don't think any of us picked Bigfoot Silva or Little Nog. Out of 10 picks, the 5 of us went 5-0, both for Overeem and Rashad Evans, both men losing. Rashad Evans not losing as devastatingly. He lost 29-28 across the board via unanimous decision. But Little Nog hands down won that fight. The Brazilians looked amazing. Aldo, Little Nog, Silva, and Maia all winning their fights. Rashad Evans, I don't know where he goes from here. He sort of was knocking on that championship door after stringing together wins after that loss to John Jones. But Jesus Christ, I'm really kind of at a loss for what goes on with Evans, because it's already pretty crowded up at the top. You have Jones and Sonnen, obviously. You have Henderson and Machida. You have Gustafsson just a fight or 2 away. He's going to be fighting Gegard Mousasi early April. Evans, I still think of him as a top 10 guy, and there are definitely guys out there who aren't matched up in a fight that would make up for a compelling fight. And just a few names of guys who are coming off wins and aren't matched up for a fight, I don't think yet. You got Ryan Bader, Glover Teixeira, and Forrest Griffin. I just don't know what is next for Rashad Evans. What do you all think, Sugar Rashad? What happened, and what's in his future?
Oh, is that me? My bad. Rashad Evans, I don't know what that fight was. It felt like a 15-minute feeling out process of, I'm going to touch your hand, you're going to touch mine, but I don't like hand contact, so I'm just going to keep touching that hand. It's pathetic, and I still view him as a top 10 guy. I don't know whether that was a kind of a mistake on the radar. I'm not sure. I don't have a clue. Apparently, Rashad broke his hand in the first round, but I don't remember him throwing anything to break it. I don't have a clue what was going on. Still, I'd have to rewatch that fight to really see what Rashad was thinking, or even I'd just love to hear what he thought about that fight. All I've heard is the handbrake. Where does he go? Well, there was talks about a 185 matchup, I guess, if he really was considering it. Maybe consider a drop down to 195 to fight Vitor Belfort or something like that. But other than that, I really, really wouldn't be able to say. It was a ridiculous fight.
Jay, I wouldn't rewatch the fight again. Honestly, it was awful. I wouldn't bother rewatching it again. I think there was a lot of arrogance on Rashad Evans' part, because apparently I'd read some of the stuff that had been said, and he was on about the fact he felt his boxing was that little bit better than Little Nog's. Yet we've seen Little Nog come up against guys that are not as good as Rashad, that have got the striking and the wrestling. And the 2 that jump out to mind are Jason Brills, which was of course a while ago, and Ryan Bader. And they both used the wrestling, and obviously Bader got the win. Jason Brills didn't get the win, but a lot of people felt that he did. It was a very close fight. Why did Rashad not come in with a better game plan? Why did he stand there and box with someone who's known for being a good boxer when you've got wrestling on your side and you're known for being a good wrestler? It made no sense to me. I think Evans thought he was all he needed to do to win that fight was turn up, and it clearly wasn't the case. And I think that's the worst I've ever seen Evans look in a fight. I think he just didn't look there at all. And I think maybe he was overlooking him. There was a lot of talk about him being the next fight for Anderson Silva. Dana White said that was going to happen. Obviously, that's not going to happen now because I don't think people are that bothered about seeing it after that performance. I think next to Rashad, I think he'll drop down to 185. I think that was his last fight at 205, or maybe 195. But I think there'd be a lot of hype around Vitor Belfort versus Rashad Evans, especially after what Balfour did to Bisping, because let's not forget, Evans and Bisping faced off a while ago, and that was a very, very close fight, which Evans eked out a decision. And we saw what Balfour did to Bisping. So I could see that 195. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then after the 195, Evans dropping down to 185, or maybe even Rich Franklin. That'd be a good fight as well, or Kung Lee, because he seems to want to take like exhibition-style matches against big names. There's quite a few names there for him, but I think definitely it'll either be at 195 or 185. I don't think it'll be at 205.
This was absolutely the most boring fight I've seen Rashad Evans in since his Ultimate Fighter days, since he was just a pure wrestler with little else. It was a sparring match. There was nothing to it. For Rashad, what's next for him? He better find some motivation. I mean, I think I heard something about him talking about retiring. If your heart's not in it, then fucking retire. Don't do it, because you keep showing up to the cage looking like that, you're going to get fucking handled. It doesn't matter what weight class you're in. You'll get fucking knocked out by Anderson Silva, who, before he was fighting Rogerio Nogueira, he's putting out fucking shit saying, oh, I know I beat Anderson Silva. Really? You just got fucking handled by Lil Nog. I mean, you know, and you can fault Lil Nog for not making that fight that exciting either, but I mean, come on, we all know that Rashad Evans on his worst night, and this was Rashad Evans' worst night. That was the only way he was going to be able to beat him. So he was taking what he was given. You can't fault Lil Nog for that. Rashad, he's been known for mixing it up and setting up the takedowns with the hands. His hands, he doesn't have the best technical boxing. It's definitely good technical boxing, serviceable technical boxing. But I think serviceable is a key word there, because that just goes to set up his takedowns. And I think I only remember him shooting once in that entire match. What's next for him? Don't really know. I honestly don't even really care. I want to see him fight whoever, just the talk of Ryan Bader and Jason Brill's game plans against Rogerio. It made me think Ryan Bader versus Lil Nog, that may be the match to set up. Bader, he's coming off of one win. Yeah, I think, just one win right now. Just rebounded, had a nice little rebound against Matt Yushenko after that Machida knockout. So that could be done just because of Rashad's perennial top 5 ranking at the light heavyweight class. And as for Rogerio Nogueira, he's got 2 wins in a row now. But hopefully his ring rust wears off a little bit, and he looks even better in his fight. I don't even know who you give Rogerio. Yeah.
Yeah, look, if you're ever having trouble going to sleep, you put on that Rashad Evans fight, and instead of counting sheep, you start counting those high fives and patty cakes, and you'll be out in no time. Rashad Evans, Jesus Christ, man. I feel bad for the Rashad Evans fans that saved up their money to go see him fight, their favorite fighter, Rashad Evans. He's gonna be awesome, boxing, sweet science, everything. And then they have to go witness that piece of shit performance. I'll keep it short, Rashad Evans. What the hell was that? You've lost the drive. You just showed up for a paycheck, and he was the highest paid fighter on the card, $300K, to show up and do that shit, to spar with Bigfoot. Or sorry, not Bigfoot, with Little Nog. And both of them, man, they both played the same game. They both didn't want to fight. Nobody was trying to hurt the other person. That was a bullshit fight. I want my money back on that one. Screw Rashad Evans. Just retire, man. Just retire. Come on. Just do it. See ya.
Oh, didn't realize you were the last speaker. My bad. Yeah, strong points. Man, I think we spent maybe 10 minutes talking about that one fight. It was such a crazy upset. One more fight, though, before we get to a couple news items in the bonehead of the week. Jose Aldo defending his belt via unanimous decision, 49-46, 49-46, 48-47. We'll talk about the loser first, kind of in the pattern we've been doing. Frankie Edgar, another tough fight. Three tough title fights in a row, this probably being the most one-sided of the three, coming off that razor-thin decision against Benson at UFC 150. Where does Frank go from here? I'm assuming he's going to stay in the featherweight division, and if he does, there are a lot of featherweights out there coming off wins who just haven't been matched up against anyone yet. Ricardo Lamas, who's upset with Anthony Pettis getting that title shot. Dennis Seaver, Clay Guida, obviously Nick Lentz, who just beat Diego Nunez. I think Frankie Edgar's done enough in the sport, and after 3 close fights with Aldo and Henderson has sort of deserved a shot against any of these top contenders. What do you guys think's next for the answer, Frankie Edgar?
I mean, that was a razor close fight again, and I think a lot of people predicted that Aldo would win the early rounds and Edgar would win the later rounds, and I think that's what played out. I mean, I know 2 of them gave it 49-46, but I think 48-47 was probably a fairer score. I hope Edgar stays at 145, but there's so many good fights from him at 145. I'd like to see him fight Clay Guida. Amazingly, they've never fought each other in the UFC, and I don't think they've fought each other before. And there were 2 of the standout guys at 155, and of course they're now at 145. Guida didn't look that great in his last fight, but he won. He eat that decision. But yeah, I'd like to see Edgar versus Guida. Ramses, because Patrick's gone.
Oh shit, I didn't notice. Rest in peace, Patrick. He's dead. Yeah, Jose Aldo, man. I wasn't too impressed with Jose Aldo, but it was a great fight. I'm not saying that. It was a great fight, but yeah, man. Frankie Edgar, man, he did give him the what for a couple times. So, but where does he go from here? I gotta say, a loss is a loss, man, and Frankie Edgar is on a roll here with the losses. He's going exactly where he needs to go, the back of the line. I'm sorry. He's a great fighter, but yeah, I think at this point, he's on the Clay Guida level, basically. Alright, he had his fun in the sun. He's taken a couple losses, it's time to build it back up. So yeah, put him up against Guida. Why the fuck not? That'd be an interesting one. I really don't care who he fights, he's got to get a win, though. He's got to get a win. They're going to throw him a bone, I'm guessing, with his next fight, and he'll come out on top.
I like the idea of him fighting Mendes. I think you guys, yeah, that's a very good point with the Guida fight. It's almost like he's now being re-established in this new lightweight division. You know, he's no longer the champion. There's a few guys from the lightweight division who are around. I mean, you've got the Ross Pearsons, you've got the Dennis Seavers, you've even got the crazy ones like the George Roots. But yeah, you've got that fight with Clay Guida now available too. You've also got guys like Nick Lentz who are on the rise. Why the hell would you match him up against Nick Lentz? I don't understand. But he is on a 3. He has lost 3 in a row. I like the idea of a Mendes fight, but if you're going to give him somebody, you know, an up and comer or whatever, I'd like to see him fight a 155 guy making the drop down, just purely to see how the fight would have fared had he have fought any of these guys. Imagine if he did lose to someone like Nick Lentz. What would that say about the whole division? It'd be crazy. But yeah, I think the Clay Guida fight, or Clay Guida or Mendes, I assume is probably next. I think both guys deserve it. Both guys make it an interesting fight, really.
Patrick?
Yeah, I think Frankie Edgar, he would fucking slaughter Clay Guida. The Nick Lentz fight, that would be interesting because Nick Lentz actually has some technique and actually has some skills and looks to fight. He's been looking beast at 145. So
unlike Guida?
What's that?
Unlike Guida?
Oh, much unlike Guida. I mean, we all know Guida 155. He would get the rare finish every now and then, and let's be frank, that's what it was. He had fucking, who knows how many, 16 fights at the lightweight division, some shit like that. Rare, get a handful of finishes in all those. Shit. So, yeah, Edgar, I think him versus Mendez would be good. Mendez has been getting some fucking cream puffs. Cody McKenzie and fucking Yaozine Meza, I think, was the can that he crushed down there in Australia. He's been getting gifts. Let's give him someone like Edgar. I think that's a fucking solid fight right there. Aldo, he's a fucking gangster. He didn't have the cardio department. I think that was just really the majority of the whole thing. He was whooping Frankie Edgar's ass top to bottom. But then once Frankie Edgar, he just had a little bit more in the tank, and he started finding his game. So,
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we will talk about Pettis Aldo, but before we do, really quickly, let's try and keep it brief, I guess, because we got a bunch of stuff to go over in our last half hour. How long does Jose Aldo stay at featherweight? I only think he stays there another year or two. He's had reported issues with that cut, and I think he could tear some ass up at 150 guys, or at 155. What do you guys think?
I think he'd tear some fives up at 150 guys.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what he's going to do. If he goes up to 155, that opens up so many interesting matchups. And what else interests me if he does that is I think if he goes up to 155, Hen and Brow will go up to 145. And again, that opens up more interesting matches. I don't know what he does. It's mad with Aldo because we all know Aldo is this dominant guy. And I know he was tearing things up in the WEC. But let's be honest, he hasn't done that in the UFC. The only guy he's really blasted through is Chad Mendes. Mark Hominick smashed him in that fifth round. Aldo and Kenny Florian was a very, very close fight, and not really a great fight. Edgar was a close fight. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about Pettis, but I don't know if Aldo could handle Pettis for 5 rounds. I really don't. Patrick?
I don't think he's there much longer than a year or two. It's like it's been mentioned, he's had some issues, and plus he's had a lot of injuries outside, potentially, either just in training. There was the accident he was into. That combined with all the weight cutting, that's just a lot of strain you're putting on your body. And if he's looking to move up to 155, or if you just want to keep fighting, I think if he were to stop making that extra cut, that would really help him in the long term, not just in the fight game, but just in life moving forward. So, I think it'll be tough though. I mean, you got guys who cut from welterweight, and that's who he'd be fighting. He'd be kind of meeting them in the middle. So, but I don't think he's much long for 145. Just a couple years.
Yeah, I'm not fucking down with this whole, Aldo needs to fucking stay at 145. He needs to stay where he's got the damn title, alright? The championship needs to be defended. I mean, that's what he signed up for. He made his own bed. It's time to fucking lay in it. I'm not down with seeing fighters vacate their fucking titles. I don't even care if he moves up to 150 to keep fighting. To me, that's the equivalent of like someone winning the championship and then retiring, claiming they retired undefeated. It's a bullshit out. I'm not buying it. Aldo needs to stay and defend that fucking belt.
Powerful Ramses.
I've got to agree, I'm afraid. Unless it starts becoming a health issue where he can't physically cut the weight, then, he's got to start losing the muscle mass. He's quite a big guy. Ray did bring up some good points, and that's that he has looked the fights recently have been close. But when people still consider now Mendes to be the number 2 guy, and he ended that within the first round, albeit like 4 minutes 59. It's crazy. This guy is fantastic. And what's the point? Who said to Anderson Silva, "Oh, you've got to move up to 205"? Nobody. Just because he's been in a few close fights, people are starting to say he's got to move up. I don't agree with that at all. I think he stays in the division that he's the champion now. Why risk his career, his pound for pound ranking, his history, just to move up to see how well he fares in another division? He doesn't need to do that. Nobody's shouting at somebody like GSP. Well, people are shouting at GSP, but why do any of these champions need to move up? The only one who does is Anderson Silva, and he doesn't fight the elite of the elite. He fights Bonners and Griffins, guys who it's just money-making matchups. Yeah, he could go up and fight somebody like, I don't know, I couldn't even name anyone. Maybe someone like Nate Diaz. But what's he really got to earn from that, really? it's just all about respect and history being made. But I think he should just stay in his division. He's doing well from there.
For sure, and we'll kind of move on from Aldo to his next opponent, Anthony Pettis, who actually announced that he will be moving down to featherweight and will fight Jose Aldo in August. Really quick, before we talk about that fight, should Anthony Pettis stayed at lightweight, he was going to get a title shot. He was going to fight the winner of Benson Henderson and Gilbert Melendez following his win against Donald Cerrone, but he's now decided to move down 10 pounds to featherweight. Should he have stayed at lightweight or moved down? I don't see, why mess with a good thing. He was tearing it up at 155. Looked very impressive against Donald Cerrone. He beat the current champion at 155. The guy who's likely would be his opponent if he stuck around for a title shot. Duke Rufus saying that it was a real heartbreak when they lost the title shot before, and they want to get a title shot as soon as possible. What do you all think? Should he have stayed at lightweight or moved down to featherweight?
He's dead, man. He's dead.
He died again.
Shit, so I guess it's me.
Cry, guys. He might actually be dead, wouldn't I? And I'll cry. And you'll all feel really bad.
I won't really care. Let's see. I guess it's my turn then, right?
Yes, sir.
Pettis fucking fighting Aldo in August. Hell yeah, why the fuck not, man? I mean, it's better than having him on the shelf here. Let's see this motherfucker do some damage. I think he takes Aldo seriously in this fight. Aldo, man, like I said, I wasn't impressed with how he did against Edgar, man. If the Aldo that shows up for that fight shows up to fight Pettis, it's all over. Belt exchanged. I think Pettis should do whatever the fuck he wants at this point. He looked pretty badass. I don't see how cutting 10 pounds is really gonna keep him from doing damage here. I don't see it at all. Pettis all the way. Do whatever you want.
And I believe we're patching Patrick back in now. He is back with the call. Patrick, should Pettis have stayed at 155 or moved down to featherweight?
You know what? I was kind of on the fence on this. I think he should have stayed. Everyone wants to see Henderson Pettis too. The first fight was one of the best displays of mixed martial arts ever. Plus, he's already got a win over the champ, so there's just so much there. It's got me scratching my head. I think he should have stayed at 155.
It's an absolutely fantastic matchup. Yeah, it does make the UFC not look so much like a sport, more of a marketing, money-making machine. But the fight is fantastic. We want to see how Benson Henderson versus Pettis, how that fight would play out. But what's to stop Pettis getting this title and coming up in a couple of fights' time to see how well he would have fared? I mean, there's no harm in it. It's 10 pounds. It's not like it's a massive, massive gap. We're not talking 20 to 15 pound. We're talking 10 pound. I love the fight. I really do love it. It's going to be a great fight. Two fantastic, unique strikers. Can't wait for it.
I think it's a great move as well. I don't blame him for doing it. I mean, he must look at Aldo's game and think, you know what, I can beat him. I mean, if Aldo tires in the later rounds like he did in his last few fights, Pettis is going to knock him out. I mean, Pettis is brutal. And we know Pettis can go 25 minutes because him and Hendo fought a hell of a high tempo. I think that featherweight title is there for the taking. You just need somebody who can come in and who's like a bigger, stronger version of Aldo, and that's what Pettis is. I don't think there's many people that have got the level of striking that Pettis has got. I mean, what he did to Cerrone was crazy. I could actually see him doing what Jay said. I could see him coming down, beating Aldo, and going up and beating Benson, and becoming maybe the first one to hold a weight at two weight classes at the same time. Now that would be epic.
That would be super epic. I did want to break down this fight a little bit more, but seeing as we only have a little over 20 minutes, we got 6 months to break this fight down as much as we want. But really quickly, kind of the way you initially see it, just straight up, really quickly, what % chance do you give Anthony Pettis to beat Jose Aldo? I say 45%. Patrick?
I got to go with the coin flip here, my man. This is another fight. We got so much time to analyze it. We're going to need it because this fight's going to be fucking crazy.
Yes, sir.
I'll give it 101.5%.
Damn.
51% to Pettis.
What did you give Ramses?
101.5% to
I thought you said
Pettis.
1. Yeah, so you've got Pettis to win. Yeah, I'm on 75%. I think Pettis is a beast, and I just think he'll have Aldo's number.
Definitely. And one other thing, another thing which we could have broken down, but we spent so much time on UFC 156. Just a straight up yes or no, and maybe a really quick follow up. Gray Maynard, another lightweight, thinking about dropping to 145. We got all these lightweights: Guida, Edgar, Pettis, Maynard. Gray Maynard thinking about dropping down. Simply, should he do it? Yes or no? I say yes if he can. Shit, he would be a real bully at featherweight. What do you guys think?
Yes,
Pretty much stole the words out of my mouth. If he can do it,
Patrick.
he should fucking do it.
Skips McGillicuddy over there, Ray.
Right, I'll jump in now. On my go. Yeah, if he can do it, he can do it. I mean, he would be a beast at 145.
Ramses?
Yeah, yes, he should. That division needs some new blood. The lower weight classes all do.
No.
Simple enough. No for Jay. Let's get to the bonehead of the week before we tackle our last bit of news. I guess I'll start it off for this week's bonehead. All right, halfway just because I don't like him. Halfway just because I think he is on a streak of being in the bonehead of the week running the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I'll keep it alive. Greg Jackson, what are you doing, you fucking bonehead? Jesus Christ, I just don't know what Greg Jackson is looking to do. He is really the premier trainer in the UFC. You want to at least keep playing nice with Dana White, etc., etc. Dana White's a guy you're going to have to see, I don't know, twice a month, 3 times a month with pressers and weigh-ins, 4 times a month. Greg Jackson and Dana White will cross paths a lot. There are a ton of fucking Jackson's fighters in the UFC, and quite frankly, whether we like their strategies or not, they're some of the most successful fighters in the UFC. Greg Jackson just aligning himself with Bellator, being a part of the show. Look, Dana White has zero problem if you're going in there just to train guys, almost like coaches like Coach Jamie Huey on The Ultimate Fighter. But Greg Jackson is, I don't know what the fuck he's going to be, a celebrity judge with Randy. I have no idea. Everything's kind of in the works still. The fights are going to be on their pro record, which is kind of crazy. But I guess in summation, to keep it brief, Greg Jackson is a fucking bonehead. Jay?
Mine's got to be Overeem. Do I need to say anything if you go ahead and watch that entire fight? When he had the opportunity, he didn't take it. When he's getting pounded by a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. Why didn't he strike when he had the choice? Pathetic match. He went for takedowns. He shouldn't. I'm not even going to go into it. This has just been rubbish. Overeem for my bonehead of the week.
P-Bunny?
Sorry, technical difficulties abound. My bonehead of the week is Randy Couture, allegedly known as Captain America. He's apparently, in this big move he's making with Bellator MMA, is going to be hosting a show called MMA Rescue, in the same genius vein as Bar Rescue and whatever the fuck other kind of rescue they're doing over there on Spike TV. It's where, I don't know, I guess he's going to different gyms and shit and trying to save these family gyms, it is just the wackest shit ever. Spike is such a weak channel. Everybody knows the only good thing that they do is show fights. That's the way it was when the UFC was on there. That's the way it is now that Bellator's on there. Randy Couture, you're just fucking selling out, trying to make a buck, trying to fucking get your image out there. I respect trying to make that cheddar, but dude, MMA Rescue, come the fuck on. You're my bonehead of the week.
My bonehead of the week is Josh Barnett. Once again, he makes the decision not to sign with the best promotion because he doesn't want to fight the best fighters. I mean, this guy just seems to want to duck. I mean, Who else is that? What other heavyweights are there for him to face outside of the UFC? I mean, Strikeforce did have some good heavyweights, but there's no one else really out there now. You know, there is some good guys at Bellator, but there's one Bellator heavyweight that could be considered top 10, maybe not even top 15. You know, and other big names away from the UFC, Arlovsky, but obviously he's not the same guy he once was. I just don't understand. If you want to be one of the best in the world, then go and fight the best fighters. And once again, Josh Barnett decides he doesn't want to fight the best fighters. It just doesn't. I just don't get it. So for me, Josh Barnett's my bonehead of the week.
Bone. Hopefully, I'm on right along with the music here. My bonehead of the week is Nick the Tooth, Dana White's friend or what drug dealer, whoever he is. All right, Nick the Tooth. Anybody watching Twitter earlier today? It just broke. He challenged Bloodstained Lane to an MMA match, and then Dana White himself got involved and arranged the match. He set it up here, and it's going on. It's going down next week in Jersey. Bloodstained Lane versus Nick the Tooth, overseen, sanctioned, set up by Dana White himself. I'm going to try to get Bloodstained Lane on my podcast to get a little pre-fight interview with him. But Nick the Tooth, you called out the wrong son of a bitch. You don't fuck with Bloodstained Lane. You got to respect the shooter. You know what I'm saying? Nick the Tooth is a dead man here. I don't even think he knows what kind of shit he just stepped into. But Nick the Tooth, you're going to find out, man. He's going to be Nick the Gums by next week, all right? And he'd be better damn well be sure he's going to be the bonehead of the week next week, too.
Strong words. As much as I want to pick Nick the Tooth after that lecture, or not lecture, that sermon, I got to go with Overeem, putting his hands down, acting like a fucking fool against Antonio Silva. Bone.
Mine was going to be Randy Couture. I think it probably still will be, but I think he's more of an idiot for signing up to Bellator in the first place more than the bar rescue thing. But still, Randy Couture being a bit of a bonehead this week, so I'm going with him.
Well, for myself, I gotta go with Josh Barnett, although you know what? I think it's probably because he doesn't want to get all these fucking random drug tests. I think that's why he doesn't want to sign with UFC, but nonetheless, I will take Ray's selection of Josh Barnett.
Out of all of them, I don't really have a problem with what Greg Jackson, Randy Couture or Nick the Tooth have done, but I think Overeem sold himself short this weekend, so my bonehead of the week is Alistair Overeem.
Yeah, I got to give it to the Reem as well, man. That was a fight that he should have won, could have won, but he decided to dance around and showboat instead. Overeem, bonehead.
Bone. And Overeem with 3 votes. Couture and Barnett with 1 apiece as well. Overeem is our bonehead of the week, Jay's submission. So, yeah, Overeem, you're a bonehead. We've got to think of a little clever tagline to say to Overeem. Like, Overeem, go fuck yourself. Obviously, not that, because I like Overeem. Overeem, bone. Let's get to that tough episode. I know you were jacked up on it, Ramses, you being a big tough aficionado this season, but I think everyone else was jacked up on it too. That was one of the greatest knockouts of all time. Uriah Hall, very Edson Barboza-esque against Terry Adam with that wheel kick. Caught him in the same spot with his heel, said his foot hurt for a week, said he thought he killed Adam Sella. Adam Sella was not looking very good after the knockout. Where do you put that knockout on your list of top knockouts ever? Honestly, I had the Barboza knockout as my favorite knockout ever before this, and I've really got to break it down and watch each one 100 times, because that one's close. I don't know if it's better, worse, the same, but it's up there. What do you guys think?
That was a fucking amazing knockout. That really was one of the most incredible things I've seen in my life. Out of all the knockouts I've seen, it's just so hard to call. I think it might have been better than Barboza's just a little bit. I mean, of course, Sella didn't exactly fall in the same entertaining manner that Edom did, but I think that's I just preferred Hall's kick just a little more. I think his landed more on the jaw, whereas I think Barboza's was more on the temple. But I mean, I don't even have a list of knockouts that are my favorite, but if I did, this would goddamn sure be at or near the very top of it.
Mr.
Holy
Ramsey.
shit. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, that fucking KO, man. Uriah Hall all the way. Where is it on my list? It's up there, definitely. I wouldn't say it was number one, of course. But, yeah, I have Uriah Hall set to win the whole goddamn thing. I do. On the Tough Fantasy League. Then I have my own little pool going on. Check it out, Team Darkside. Undefeated so far, perfect record. And Uriah Hall is my number one pick, my number one choice. He's going all the way. That KO where he said I thought I killed Adam Sella. I've got the word on the street, guys. Adam Sella did die that day, unfortunately. For the rest of the season, when you see him, that's shit that they had taped previously before. And then if you look when he gives like interviews from now on, it's a slightly different looking guy. Shout out to rest in peace, Adam Sella.
I know we're all talking about this epic kick, and let's be fair, this kick was absolutely epic. But there's someone else for me that stood out on that show for a completely different reason, and that was Chael Sonnen. I mean, how awesome was that sit down with him and Uriah Hall and Chael Sonnen passing on his wisdom? Because I do remember the times Chael Sonnen was talking about, and I remember when Chael Sonnen was middle of the road, and he's not now, obviously. I'm not trying to say this to rile up Ramses. When he was middle of the road, and he was getting submitted by everyone. I mean, he lost to Jeremy Horn numerous occasions. And I remember, because I followed UFC back then, I remember Sonnen. And he was just somebody who come and fought, and you didn't really pay attention to him. But that's not the case now. I mean, Chael Sonnen is now one of the top guys for the way he promotes himself and obviously for the way he fights. But him sitting down there talking with Uriah, I thought that was just one of the best tough moments, I think, probably across all of the tough seasons, away from the fighting. So I just wanted to say that. As for the kick was absolutely amazing. I mean, that kick was hyped up so much, and it so delivered to the hype. It's hard to say about the top knockouts of all time because, like you saw, I've seen thousands of knockouts, but it's obviously it's a knockout that's always going to be talked about. It was absolutely amazing. I'm going to stop talking now because I'm getting echo off Jay's mic.
Is that
yourself,
me?
fool.
Sorry,
go ahead, Ray. Ray, go ahead.
I'm finished.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, really, we're closing it out here. I did want to ask a couple questions, so let's do it rapid fire like we've done a couple times before. Really quick, we've been doing percentages. What % chance do you give Uriah Hall to win Tough 17? I give him a 50-50 shot. I mean, 50% Hall, 50% the field. What about you guys?
I'll give him 85%.
I'm gonna go full on 90% chance to win. Uriah Hall.
No doubt in my mind is he a finalist, so whoever he's against, 50-50.
I reckon the twist of the season is he won't make the final. I think we've seen his best moment. He won't make the final.
Well, if I do remember right, Dana White said that this tough beast sent 3 guys to the hospital, and so far he's only sent 2. So he's got at least one more hospital send off to go, if I remember that right. And lastly, this is another rapid fire. Which tough knockout was nastier? I think we can agree these are the 2 top Ultimate Fighter knockouts of all time. Matt Riddle and Uriah Hall. Who takes it? I take Matt Riddle.
God damn it, this is tough. I'll take Matt Riddle. I can still hear the sound that the other dude was making. Oh, horrific. And the dude didn't even get in the house. He didn't even get in the fucking house. He got his jaw broken 3 places and sent home.
Nice. Oh, I've got to give it to Uriah Hall simply because when Riddle made his knockout happen, I watched it and I was shocked. I was like, damn, that was awesome. But when Uriah Hall kicked that guy into another dimension, I felt it. Like, it made my teeth hurt. All right, I felt that knockout, so I'll give it to Uriah.
Right now, Uriah Hall's is fresher in my mind. However, Riddle's was absolutely epic. I'd have to rewatch them both.
Uriah Hall's looked better, but I think the sound effects made from Simler, as his name was, Dan Simler, I think they sold that. It was just awful. It was really, really bad.
Yeah, and apparently the guy lost 6 months of memory or something stupid. Scary stuff.
Yeah, but Adam Cella's dead.
But Adam Cella died. That is right.
That's terrible.
RIP. Hashtag RIP Adam Cella. Randy Couture banned from all UFC events after signing on to the Spike Show. We touched on the Bonehead of the month, or the week. This is kind of shocker. Randy Couture, one of the first people you associate with the UFC, at least for the casual fan, kind of wild. And now he's going to be banned from all UFC events, including cornering his own son, as the UFC brings in Ryan Couture, something Ryan apparently is understanding about. It's kind of crazy. The UFC very angry with Couture, and with this whole thing with Dana White being very upset. Do you think the UFC is in the right or the wrong here?
Oh man, Randy Couture. The word on the street about him, and by that I mean from all my sources, is that Randy Couture is actually a monster. He is actually a dick, a prick, a douchebag. Everything that Dana White said is true and more. I've heard it from numerous people. So, and it's shit that's not even out there. So, trust me. If you don't trust anyone else, just trust me. All right, trust the word on the street. The UFC ain't in the wrong here. Randy Couture had it coming.
I feel the opposite. I'm a huge fan of Randy. I read his book. I've had the chance to meet him. Fantastic guy. We'll see what happens. It sucks to hear that he's supposedly out the UFC for good.
Am I there?
Yeah, there you are.
Sorry, I'm with Jay. I think I've always been a big Randy Couture fan. I think anyone who knows me, has known me long enough, knows I'm a big Randy Couture fan. Oh, I don't understand all this banning stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, you're free to go and work for whatever promotion you want to work for. This is good promotion for Randy. Why shouldn't he do it? So yeah, I don't think he should be banned. I certainly think he should be allowed to corner us, and I think that's bullshit, personally.
Yeah, I love Randy Couture myself, but hey, he did have it coming. Business is business, and you're a UFC Hall of Famer, and you're going to go sign a TV deal with their rival promotion, arguably the number 2 promotion in the world. Like, come on now, what do you think is going to happen? They don't want you at their events trying to fucking piggyback off of the UFC success, because everybody will see the Bellator coaching the dude in the UFC, giving Bellator free publicity and all that. No, that's not what's going to happen. So, this is just inevitable.
Definitely, and this will be our last topic of the night. We were planning on talking about that Thiago Tavares positive test, the UFC releasing their rankings, and kind of with Arthur Jones getting that Super Bowl fumble this past weekend, talking about the greatest families in MMA. That'll be next week. But to wrap up tonight's episode, we'll kind of finish talking about that Randy Couture topic. Greg Jackson also going to be on the same show. Jackson is another one of these guys, like I was saying during Bonehead of the Week, that's going to be bumping into Dana White a bunch, and obviously White's not going to be very happy with that. Will and should Greg Jackson face any repercussions for being on the series? If you're not going to let Couture corner his own son, then why let Jackson just coach a guy he's training? I know the UFC's mad about Randy cutting off a deal, but apparently he didn't break any stipulations of the contract, so it was legal. Do you think Jackson will face any heat for it?
Oh man, fucking Jackson. No, he'll skate on this one. Dana White would have blown up about it by now. And it's a different story than Randy, because Greg Jackson has never been the face of the UFC. That's the difference right here. So Greg Jackson, who gives a shit about him? Not even Dana White, or else he would have popped off by now.
Well, I hope so, because it only seems fair. But yeah, I think it's just another. He's a coach, kind of like Randy is now, but whatever. Clearly, Dana has something up his arse over Randy, so I'm going to have to say that he'll show up whenever the hell he wants, and nothing will happen.
I think Ramsey summed it up perfectly. It's to do with the fact that Couture was the face of the UFC, and obviously Greg Jackson never has been. So I think that's why they'll face. That's why Couture will be punished and Jackson won't be.
Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I mean, Dana White doesn't like Greg Jackson, at least as far as I know. I definitely get that vibe. I don't know about you guys, but Yeah, I get that, but it's just a slightly different story here.
Definitely. And sort of the last topic, what are you expecting out of this series? Are you going to watch it? Do you expect something that's going to be as good as this season of Tough? I am going to watch it, but I'm going to expect a crap show. I really have no idea. It's probably going to be a Bellator Tough, basically. Not expecting much out of it. It's not going to... Nothing can compare to that first season of The Ultimate Fighter. I'm not going to expect much out of it. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna watch it just because they got me with Randy Couture, right? That was it. They sold me with that one. Actually, that shit actually works. So yeah, I'll check out the first episode. But if it's total piss, I'm gonna find something else to do with my time.
Depends what time it's on, whether I watch it live or not. I definitely watch it to see what happens, but depends what time it is in the US or whatever to see if I'm going to stay up long enough.
It's not going to be aired in the UK, so for me to watch it, I'm going to have to go and look for it and download it. So unless someone goes on and raves on about it and says how great it is, I probably won't bother.
Yeah, I think my DVR's got it's got an impacted schedule right about now. There ain't room for this shit on my DVR. Like Ray said, if I start hearing word, that it was a good show and it was good, you should check it out, I might check it out, but probably not.
Word on the street, and I guess that does it. Thanks for the listeners tuning in, keeping it going. Roundtables every Thursday, 7 to 9 Eastern, 4 to 6 Pacific, 12 to 2 a.m. in the UK. Ray, plug away. MMA Mental, MMAmental.com, MMA Mental on Twitter. What else?
MMA Mental.
Check out our interviews. We've interviewed Bruce Buffer this week, and he did his own personal intro for us. We've interviewed a ton more. But I know we're running out of time. Next week we're interviewing Johnny Hendricks, so just keep checking us out and following us on Twitter at MMA Mental.
Ramses, who also can be found on Twitter at The Ant Jimmy Show.
That's it. Just follow me on Twitter. Your life will never be the fucking same.
It really won't. And our podcast, the MMA Podcast, themapodcast.com. On Twitter at the MMA Podcast. Moving to Friday. Ramses is going to be guest hosting the next few weeks as Chris is in Nepal teaching the Dalai Lama how to fence. We got Darren Crookshank on tomorrow or possibly next week if that falls through. But we got a bunch of guests in the works at the MMA Podcast. Have a great weekend, great week. Catch us tomorrow for the MMA Podcast. And until next week, for myself, Jay, Dave, Chris, Patrick, Ramses, Ray, you beautiful motherfuckers, we gone.
We gone.
To continue to win, we must continue to grow. Let's go. We did it, mama. We did it for the love of the game. We did it, mama. I did it for. Yes, sir. Mama. The game will never be the same. We did it, mama. I did it for. Triumphant, pour with pride and abundance. Look up to the sky, hide a little smile in the music.